For centuries, humanity's origins were shrouded in myth and speculation. But in the 19th century, science began to challenge old beliefs, seeking evidence in the Earth itself. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution ignited a search for proof that humans shared ancestry with apes. The fossil record, however, was nearly empty. Our ancient relatives remained hidden. Neanderthal bones sparked controversy, dismissed by many as mere oddities. Scientists debated fiercely, desperate for hard evidence to settle the question of our origins. The race was on. Who would find the missing link? Most searched in Europe and Africa, but the answer would come from an unexpected place. One man's obsession would change everything. His journey would forever alter our understanding of what it means to be human. The late 1800s were an age of discovery. Explorers mapped the globe, and scientists unlocked nature's secrets. The idea of a missing link between apes and humans captured imaginations everywhere. Fame and scientific glory awaited whoever found it. While most searched in Africa and Europe, a young Dutch anatomist, Eugene Dubois, had a radical idea. He believed humanity's roots lay in Southeast Asia, home to orangutans and gibbons. His theory was dismissed as fanciful, but Dubois was undeterred. In 1887, he left his academic career behind, joining the Dutch East Indies Army. His mission to find the bones of our earliest ancestor, Dubois risked everything, driven by conviction. His quest would lead him far from the scientific mainstream and into history. Dubois's decision to leave Europe stunned his peers. He abandoned a promising career for a solitary quest in the tropics, seen by many as reckless. While others searched Africa, Dubois looked east, inspired by the orangutan and gibbon. He believed Southeast Asia's rainforests and volcanoes preserved ancient secrets. In 1887, Dubois, his wife and child sailed to the Dutch East Indies. He became a military surgeon, using his post to fund his search. Facing disease, isolation and skepticism, Dubois scoured Sumatra's caves. He found fossils of extinct animals, but not the human ancestor he sought. Doubts grew, but Dubois's resolve never wavered. He was driven by a singular vision. The breakthrough, he believed, was still ahead. For 2 years, Dubois searched Sumatra's caves, battling heat, disease and disappointment. He led teams through dense jungle, unearthing animal fossils, but no human remains. Each failure tested his faith in his theory. Funds dwindled and his health suffered. Then, news of a human skull in Java reignited his hope. Java's dynamic geology with its eroding riverbanks seemed promising. Dubois requested a transfer, determined to continue his search. He left Sumatra behind, convinced Java held the answer. The focus shifted from caves to river valleys, where the past surfaced with every flood. Dubois was closer than ever to the discovery that would define his life. In Java, Dubois turned to the Solo River, where ancient sediments surfaced each dry season. Local villagers already found fossilized animal bones along its banks. Dubois set up camp near Trinil, hiring workers to dig systematically. They unearthed fossils of extinct elephants, deer, tigers and rhinos, evidence of a lost world. But the human ancestor remained elusive. The work was grueling, the climate harsh and progress slow. Dubois meticulously logged every find, searching for a bone that bridged ape and human. He was hands-on, scanning each shovelful for the strange bone he sought. Months passed, testing his patience and resolve. Yet, Dubois pressed on, convinced the Earth would soon reveal its secret. The world was about to witness a discovery that would rewrite our story. In August of 1891, after nearly a year of digging at Trinil, a worker unearthed a primate-like tooth. Dubois was electrified. 1 month later, a worker's pickaxe struck something hard. They cleared the earth to reveal a skull cap. Dubois rushed to the spot. It was low and long, with a heavy, pronounced brow ridge. It was more primitive than any human skull ever seen, yet its brain capacity was far larger than that of any known ape. This was the missing link he had dreamed of. The following year, another incredible discovery was made. It was a left femur, astonishingly modern in its appearance. For Dubois, this was the final piece of the puzzle. He had found his Pithecanthropus erectus. When Eugene Dubois held the Trinil skullcap, he held a fossil that shattered scientific consensus. It blurred the lines between ape and man, vindicating his quest yet presenting an anatomical puzzle. Darkly mineralized, it had been scoured by the river for millennia, yet its features were astonishingly well preserved. Its most striking feature was the immense supraorbital torus, a solid bar of bone across the eye sockets. This primitive trait, reminiscent of apes, was combined with a significantly larger brain case. The sheer thickness of the cranial bone was another shocking feature. The bone was incredibly dense and robust, suggesting a being far more physically powerful than us. This was a creature built for survival in a harsh prehistoric world. The Trinil skullcap told a different, more complicated story. It presented a being with a brain case of intermediate size, housed within a skull of almost brutish ape-like construction. This single piece of bone forced everyone to redraw the entire map of our origins. The Trinil skullcap's alien anatomy revealed features never before seen together. A sagittal keel ran along the midline. An occipital torus formed at the back. Heavy brow ridges created a structural frame unlike the domed skull of modern humans. Post-orbital constriction indicated less developed frontal lobes. The brain hadn't expanded into the high forehead of Homo sapiens. Dubois estimated a cranial capacity of 900 cc. This was between a chimpanzee and a modern human. It was the missing link in brain volume. The skullcap was more than just a collection of bones. It was a bony vessel that had once contained a mind. By creating an endocast, a model of the brain's inner surface, paleontologists could begin to explore the neuroanatomy of this ancient hominin. The impressions left by the brain's convolutions and blood vessels on the inside of the cranium offered tantalizing clues about its cognitive abilities. The endocast revealed a brain that was, in its overall organization, more human-like than ape-like. It showed a clear asymmetry, with the left hemisphere appearing slightly larger, a feature linked to right-handedness and the potential for language centers. However, the endocast also highlighted the brain's limitations. The frontal lobes, as suggested by the post-orbital constriction, were narrow and relatively small. This part of the brain is our center for executive function planning for the future, inhibiting impulsive behavior and navigating complex social hierarchies. The limited size of this region in Pithecanthropus suggests a mind that was likely more focused on the immediate present, on survival, on instinct. While more capable of foresight than an ape, this being would have lacked the profound capacity for abstract thought and long-term planning that defines the modern human experience. It was a mind tethered more closely to the here and now. The parietal lobes, associated with sensory integration and spatial awareness, were more expanded than in apes, which fits with the creature's bipedal locomotion. Navigating a complex landscape on 2 feet requires a sophisticated understanding of one's body in space. But the visual processing areas at the back of the brain were proportionally large, suggesting a heavy reliance on sight. This was a creature that perceived its world primarily through its eyes, a hunter and a forager whose survival depended on spotting danger or opportunity from a distance. Its mind was a toolkit for survival in a Pleistocene world, not for composing poetry or contemplating the stars. Ultimately, the Trinil skullcap provided the first fossil evidence that the brain did not evolve in a simple linear fashion, ballooning in size uniformly. Instead, it evolved as a mosaic, with some parts expanding long before others. It suggested that key human-like abilities, such as language and tool use, may have had very deep roots, beginning in a brain that was still in many ways quite primitive. The skullcap was a window into an ancient consciousness, revealing a mind that was already on the human trajectory but had a vast evolutionary journey still ahead of it. It was the dawn of a new kind of awareness on the planet. A year after discovering the skullcap, Dubois' team unearthed a femur, igniting controversy. The skullcap was archaic, but the femur was shockingly modern, almost indistinguishable from a modern human's. For Dubois, the association was clear. They belonged to the same species, his Pithecanthropus erectus, the upright ape-man. This creature represented a stage where upright posture came long before brain expansion. But many scientists found this too radical. Critics questioned how Dubois could be certain the bones belonged to the same creature, found meters apart in a riverbed. The femur became the central battleground, a bone of contention. Prominent anatomists like Rudolf Virchow dismissed Dubois' claims. They believed Dubois had found two separate creatures, not a missing link. The argument against Dubois was powerful. The science of paleontology is built on caution. Critics argued the ancient riverbed was a repository of bones from countless millennia. It was probable, they argued, that Dubois had simply found the skull of a primitive ape-like hominid and nearby the femur of a true Homo sapiens. This two-species theory gained significant traction. By severing the femur's connection to the skull, they could dismantle Dubois's entire hypothesis. Dubois fought back, defending his discovery. Many scientists subscribed to a brain-first model of human evolution. Dubois's discovery turned this idea on its head. This was a radical reordering of the evolutionary sequence. To settle the debate, the femur itself had to be put on trial. Scientists began to study the femur as a piece of sophisticated biological machinery, a structure designed for movement. The Trinil femur possessed a well-developed linear aspera, clear evidence of a life spent on two legs. Further analysis focused on the angle of the femoral neck, falling squarely within the modern human range. The distribution of cortical bone was thickest, where the stresses of walking and standing are greatest, a pattern identical to that seen in modern humans. As more fossils of Homo erectus were discovered, the case for Dubois grew stronger. It was the authentic leg bone of Homo erectus. Its modern appearance was a fundamental feature of the species. It vindicated his most controversial claim, that the evolution of our unique locomotion preceded the dramatic expansion of our brain. The Trinil femur became a cornerstone of modern paleoanthropology. Eugene Dubois faced a bitter war with the scientific community, who were largely unwilling to accept his Pithecanthropus erectus. For years, his discovery was viewed as a curious ape. Dubois grew increasingly defensive. The tide began to turn in China. In the 1920s and 30s, a massive excavation near Beijing yielded new hominin fossils, dubbed Peking Man. The Peking Man fossils displayed similar features to Java Man. The discovery of Peking Man was a monumental vindication for Dubois. The scientific community could no longer dismiss the Java fossils as an anomaly. Pithecanthropus was placed within the human genus Homo and renamed Homo erectus. Java Man was now our ancestor, a pivotal figure in human evolution. Fossils from Zhoukoudian helped scientists understand the Trinil finds. The Chinese specimens offered a detailed look at the anatomy of this ancient species. The Peking Man skulls, like the Trinil skull cap, possessed a sagittal keel, a thick supraorbital torus, and a receding forehead. These anatomical parallels provided an undeniable link between the two fossil groups. The discoveries in China demonstrated that Homo erectus had successfully spread across the vast continent of Asia. Researchers also found thousands of simple stone tools and evidence for the controlled use of fire. This meant that Homo erectus was not just an anatomical intermediate, it was a cultural being. Java Man was now seen as a resourceful ancestor who laid the technological and geographical groundwork for everything that followed. Discoveries in Africa revealed similar fossils like those from Olduvai Gorge and Lake Turkana. Researchers like the Leakey family unearthed hominin remains similar to Homo erectus. This showed that Homo erectus was a global species migrating out of Africa. Java Man became Homo erectus erectus, Peking Man became Homo erectus pekinensis, and African relatives were classified as Homo erectus ergaster. Homo erectus dominated the planet for over 1 million years, thriving in diverse environments. This reclassification transformed Java Man into a key figure in human evolution. This journey shows how science progresses through discovery, debate, and synthesis. To understand Java Man, scientists needed to know when he lived. For decades, the age of the Trinil fossils was debated. New scientific techniques were required to unlock the secrets trapped within the rocks. The key lay in the layers of sediment where they were found. The Kabu Formation was interwoven with layers of volcanic tuff. These ash layers were geological time capsules. The breakthrough came with argon-argon dating. By heating crystals with a laser, scientists calculated when the volcanic ash settled. The results were astonishing. The sediments were deposited between 700,000 and 1 million years ago. Homo erectus had reached Southeast Asia far earlier than thought. The dating transformed Java Man into one of profound ancientness. With a firm date established, scientists could now reconstruct the world in which Java Man lived and died. The geological and fossil evidence from the Kabu Formation painted a vivid picture of a landscape utterly different from the dense rainforests that cover much of Java today. The sediments themselves told a story of a powerful, meandering river system flowing through a relatively open environment. This was not a closed canopy jungle, but a dynamic mosaic landscape, a mix of grasslands and woodlands punctuated by rivers and marshes. It was a world shaped by a climate that was drier and more seasonal than Java's is now. The animal fossils found alongside Homo erectus confirmed this paleo-environmental reconstruction. These creatures, known collectively as the Trinil fauna, were not primarily deep forest dwellers. They included the stegodon, an extinct relative of the elephant that browsed on shrubs and trees in open country. There were ancient deer, wild cattle and hippos that would have thrived in the riverine corridors and adjacent grasslands. This was a classic savanna woodland ecosystem, teeming with large herbivores and the predators that hunted them. It was a world of immense opportunity and immense danger, a perfect stage for a resourceful, adaptable hominin to make its living. Further clues came from paleomagnetism, the study of the Earth's ancient magnetic field preserved in the rocks. Analysis of the Trinil sediments showed that they were deposited during a period when the planet's magnetic polarity was reversed. A compass would have pointed south instead of north. This period, known as the Matuyama Chron, was a time of significant global climate fluctuation, an era of recurring ice ages at higher latitudes that drove dramatic environmental changes across the globe. The savanna that Java Man roamed was a product of these larger climatic forces, a landscape that appeared and disappeared as the world cooled and warmed over millennia. This detailed picture places Java Man in a context of constant change and challenge. He lived beneath the shadow of active volcanoes on a landscape that was constantly being reshaped by floods and shifting climates. He was a creature of the open savanna, not the deep jungle, a hunter and scavenger competing with other large predators. The precise dating of the Trinil site did more than just give Homo erectus an age. It gave him a world. It revealed the specific environmental pressures that shaped his evolution, forging his robust body and his resilient, pioneering spirit on the volcanic plains of ancient Java. The discovery of Java Man revealed a new story of ourselves. The fossils found by Eugene Dubois fundamentally altered our understanding of the human journey. Science first learned that our ancestors stood tall and strode across the world with a modern gait long before their minds had taken on their modern form. This was a profound revelation, written not in myth, but in the undeniable evidence of stone and bone. The Trinil fossils proved that our lineage was far more adventurous and ancient in Asia than anyone had ever dared to imagine. Thanks to the efforts of Dr. Eugene Dubois, the ancestral lineage that he envisioned has now informed our understanding of the complex journey of Homo erectus and shed further light on the profound evolution of the Homo erectus species. Homo erectus was a resilient and adaptable species that dominated the planet for over 1 million years, and as a result of the Java discovery and Dr. Dubois's perseverance, Java Man has taken his rightful place in the Homo erectus continuity, becoming a pivotal ancestor in our shared family tree and a critical part of the Homo erectus genome. The following documentary is the Dubois Java discovery, Rewriting Our Human Origins, produced by Sclera Documentary Films and written by Dr. Samir Meralli.